ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الكلام كلام الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار وبعد. Ikhwan, indeed from the greatest of the affairs that the believers, male and female, strive towards and live their lives desiring is that Allah Azza wa Jal guide them to the haqq, and that they, in terms of that which they are upon throughout their lives and the life that they lead, that they live a life of being upon the haqq and upon the truth. Many of us, ayyuhal ikhwah, were non-Muslim, and Allah Azza wa Jal blessed us and bestowed upon us huda and hidayah and guided us to the haqq. Many of us likewise were Muslims that were not practicing, and Allah Azza wa Jal turned us towards practicing our deen. After that tawfiq and that success and the grace that Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed us with, inevitably, ikhwan, there is not one of us except that he has a burning desire to remain upon the haqq, to know it, to be acquainted with it and remain upon it. And that affair, brothers and sisters, is one that requires something from guidelines in its affair. As it relates to the path itself, then the path, of course, is clear. The book, the sunnah, the aqwal and the statements of the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim and the earlier generations, the Salaf of this ummah, the path is clear. But there is an attitude likewise, that the one that remains upon the haqq, even during times of khilaf and difference and difference of opinion, the one who remains closest to the haqq constantly is the one that has with him certain characteristics, certain principles that he works with. And on the basis of them throughout his life, he remains upon the haqq, or when it comes to the issues of difference, it is likely that he is the one that will receive tawfiq and will be granted success to achieve that which is most correct from those two positions. And thus, brothers and sisters, these qawaid and these principles are of the essence. And they without doubt are simple. From our ulama and from our scholars who have explained them, we have that great scholar, Al-Imam Muhammad Sadiq Hassan Khan, rahimahullah ta'ala. Al-Imam Muhammad Sadiq Hassan Khan, he mentions, ikhwan, in his book concerning the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah, Qatth al-Thamar, he mentions an issue related to the one who will reach the haqq and who will acquire it. He mentions, rahimahullah ta'ala, إنما يعرف الحق من جمع خمسة أوصاف. He mentions that indeed the haqq will be attained by one who gathers 5 characteristics, 5 attributes. And this, as we mentioned, ikhwan, we're not discussing here the path itself, but the attitude of the believer as it relates to acquiring and reaching the haqq. The attitude, those characteristics that he himself has. This type of person is the type of individual that will acquire the haqq and reach the haqq. He mentions the first of them, أعظمها, of course, al-ikhlas. The first of them, ikhwan, and the greatest of them, he mentions al-ikhlas. That is, that a person with every single thing that he does, with every move that he makes, with every intent that he has, he is sincere. And that he carries those actions out for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Constantly he checks himself. Constantly, he makes that hisab and he evaluates his actions. Why am I carrying this action out? Why is it that I'm doing it? What is my intent? Who am I intending? And that is where the ikhlas, ikhwan, it manifests. And that was something that we saw among the salaf of this ummah, that they were people of ikhlas. And they would, on top of the ikhlas that they had, they would reject that they ever had ikhlas at all. Hisham ad-Dustuwa'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, Wallahi, and he was a great imam of hadith, from the greatest of the scholars of hadith, that occurs in one of the silsilatul dhahab, one of the golden chains of narration, that are from the strongest of the chains of narration because of the mountains of knowledge that are within it. Hisham ad-Dustuwa'i is from them. In that golden chain going back to Anas ibn Malik. This great imam of hadith, he said, Wallahi, inni la astati'u an aqul, inni talabtu al-hadith liwajhi Allah, qat. He said, by Allah, I am not able to say that I sought hadith for the face of Allah once. And in regards to that statement, Al-Imam al-Dhahabi, he said, Wallahi wala ana. He said, by Allah, and Imam al-Dhahabi is the one that is the biographer, the great imam collecting these statements. He said, Wallahi wala ana. He said, by Allah, me either. He said, وَلَقَدْ كَانَ السَّلَفُ يَطْلُبُ الْحَدِيثَ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ فَحَصَلُوا وَسَارُوا أَئِمَّ يُقْتَدَى بِهِمْ. He said, indeed, the salaf of this ummah, they sought hadith for the face of Allah and they attained it. Because of the ikhlas that they had. وَسَارُوا أَئِمَّ. And they became imams يُقْتَدَى بِهِمْ. Imams that the people follow. He said, وَطَلَبَهُ قَوْمٌ دُونَهُمْ أَوَّلًا لَا لِلَّهِ. He said, and then a people who were on a lesser level, they sought hadith initially, not for the sake of Allah, because it was something that the people used to do. وَحَصَلُوا, and they attained it though. وَجَرَّهُمُ الْإِخْلَاصِ أو جَرَّهُمُ الْعِلْمَ إِلَى الْإِخْلَاصِ. They attained it, obtained it, and the knowledge that they had pulled them to sincerity. So the affair of ikhlas, ikhwan, of course, is the first of the great characteristics that a person must have in order for him to be from those who will acquire the haqq and reach the truth. He mentions likewise, rahimahullah ta'ala, the second of them, al-fahm. The second of them, al-fahm. That is understanding. And this affair of fahm and understanding, ikhwan, it was that the messengers and the prophets, they used to ask Allah Azza wa Jal and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the people understand their statement, that they hear their statement and understand it. Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, when Allah Azza wa Jal sent him to Fir'aun, idhab ila Fir'aun, innahu tagha, go to Fir'aun. For indeed he is a man, he is one that has transgressed the boundaries. Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, he asked Allah to give him وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري. Give me a wazir, a minister that will go with me from my family, Harun, my brother, that he may accompany me in this affair and share its burden. So Allah Azza wa Jal granted him that. And then Musa, he made the dua, رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. He said, oh Allah, expand for me my breast. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, and make my affair easy for me. وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي, and remove the weight and the speech impediment that is upon my tongue. Since Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he had a speech impediment. And that was on the basis of the fact that when he was a child, Fir'aun received a dream that an individual who was within his kingdom would overpower him and would take over his kingdom. And so part of that dream was that he feared that it would be someone that was in close proximity to him. In which time they had Musa alayhi salatu wasalam after taking him from the river. And he was suspicious of Musa, that he may be the one that the dream revolves around. And so he placed in front of him, in order to test him, placed in front of him a piece of coal and a date. And of course, ikhwan, if he was special, his thinking was if he was special and sent, then he would pick up the date. Though normally a child would pick up the coal since it is bright and attractive. And so if he picked up the date and not the coal, he knew that this boy was special. And so Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah Azza wa Jal decreed that he would pick up the coal, and he picks it up and put it straight in his mouth. And on the basis of that, he burnt his tongue, and thus he had a speech impediment as he grew. And so Allah Azza wa Jal, he made that dua to Allah subhanahu, رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني. Remove that impediment from my tongue. يفقهوا قولي, that they may understand what I say. Since he knew that understanding the message was the key, ikhwan, to taking on board its guidance. The hudat and the guide, those who guide to Islam and guide to the haqq, are those individuals, ikhwan, who have the sharia, have the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, and convey it in a way that it is understood. Since when it is understood, the fitrah inclines towards it. The fitrah, the innate nature, loves it, it desires it. And so this affair of faham, ikhwan, is of the essence. He mentions wal insaf, the third of them, the third characteristic that one must have. If he has these characteristics, inshallah, he'll arrive at the haqq al-insaf. That is, that he is just, that he is balanced. And that justice and that balance, of course, ikhwan, is not in accordance with what me and you dictate, but the justice and the balance of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. When a person has that insaf, that justice and that balance, then he does not see that which is negligent as being balanced. Neither does he see that which is extreme as being balanced. Rather, he understands that the kitab and the sunnah and the way of the sahaba and the way of the salaf of this ummah, that is the balance. And it is on that basis that this insaf is based. And so this justice then necessitates that he views and he analyzes the statement, mathalan, in those issues when two scholars from Ahlul Sunnah differ, then he views the affair with that justice and that balance. Similarly, if it is that someone that he inclined towards or someone that he may have something from love for is disparaged and spoken against because of some opposition to the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal that comes from that person, he's not taken, ikhwan, by love and by mahabba to leave alone the haqq and the truth that is being mentioned concerning the one that he loves. Rather, he is regulated by the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أحبب حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوما ما وأبغض بغيضك هونا ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوما ما. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, love the one that you love to an extent, because it may be that he may become the one you have to hate one day. And hate the one that you hate to an extent, because it may be that he may become the one you have to love one day. And therefore that balance and that insaf causes him to be far and ba'id from ta'assub. He doesn't blindly he isn't bigoted and isn't taken by bigotry to cling to an individual regardless. Rather, he views the affairs not in the light of emotion, not in the light of ta'assub. Rather, he views it in the light of sharia, in the light of ilm, in the light of that which is correct, in the light of the methodology of the salaf of this ummah and the way of the sahaba. He views the affair in that light, and he yatajarrad, he's free from being affected by these exterior factors that may cause him to ignore the haqq because of the fact that it is in relation to someone that he loves. And this insaf then is from the greatest of the characteristics that he possesses. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. Indeed, the Imam, ikhwan, he mentions the fourth of them. He said, الرابع رابعها وهو أقلها وجودا وأكثرها فقدانا al-hirs ala ma'rifati al-haq. He said the fourth of them, and it is the one that is the least present and the one that is most absent. And that is al-hirs ala ma'rifati al-haq. To have the ardent, burning desire to be acquainted with the haq, to know the haq, to know the truth. And one may say that that statement, ikhwan, may sound ghareeb and ajib. How is it said that this is the least of them present? Well, analyze, ikhwan. It is no doubt connected to that which we previously mentioned. And that is that the previous affair of insaf and of being just, that insaf, ayyuhal ikhwa, and that justice that a person has, it is likewise from those things that are relatively, or that are pretty much absent in many places and with many people. Or there is a negligence as it relates to this sifa. But as far as it relates to hirs ala ma'rifati al-haq, ardent desire to know the truth, then that is not ardent desire, ikhwan, necessarily to know the truth generally, but to get to the bottom of an issue, which if the haq goes a particular way, then it is going to affect my desires, my hawa. It is going to affect that which I like and I love. It is going to ruin a relationship that I may have. It is going to affect something within my household. It is going to ruin something that I personally incline towards. It is going to have an effect upon some covetousness that I may have. And so this hirs then is absent in these areas particularly. When it is in accordance with our desires, then na'am, we are haris. When finding that and attaining a particular thing, when it services what we love, na'am, we're haris, we're ardent. But the issue, brothers and sisters, is when we fear that discovering the truth is going to affect the things that we love and our ability to carry them out and to do them, or our relationship with a particular individual, then you'll find, ikhwan, that we oftentimes incline towards abandoning this hirs and not really caring too much about it. And we hear statements such as, this issue is too deep for me, and it's above my head. Oh, I can't be bothered to really. As far as I'm concerned, it's an issue which is another issue. It's an issue that the scholars have differed about. Therefore, I'm not going to get involved in it. When in actuality, the haqq and the truth is clear in the issue. If we were just to take some time out to look into it, to study the issue, to research it, we would see that in actuality, the haqq and the truth is clear. But we know that the truth becoming clear would necessitate something that we may dislike. And so we would much prefer to turn away from it and to avoid it. And that, brothers and sisters, is why the Imam, he mentions وَهُوَ أَعْظَمُهَا وَهُوَ أَقَلُّهَا وُجُودًا وَأَكْثَرُهَا فُقْدَانًا. It is the one that is most absent or least present and the greatest in absence. And that is this hirs and this desire over knowing the truth, seeking it, searching for it. We have durus, ikhwan, in almost every city, bihamdillah, in our countries, even in the West. Durus and places where we can benefit. But when we look at the ratios of those who actually attend and who actually turn up, we can see the manifestation of what the Imam is saying. Our masajid, ikhwan, should be filled. Even Jumu'ah should be filled with individuals desiring the haqq. Filled. Our durus, our lectures should be filled. No place, run out of space. With people desiring to know the haqq and have an understanding of it. Whether it is that thing that we already know, but we seek an increase in knowledge of it, or an affirmation of it, as was the case with the prophets and the messengers. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, because we hear the people saying, oh, it's the same thing, same old thing that we've heard before. Well, that was not the attitude of the prophets and the messengers. The prophets and the messengers, they sought to increase in certainty in that which they already knew. Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he asked Allah Azza wa Jal, Rabbi kayfa arini kayfa tuhyi al-mawta. Show me how you give life to the dead. Allah Azza wa Jal responded, awala tu'min, do you not believe? Qala bala, walakin liyatma'inna qalbi. He said, yes, I do. Therefore, it was something that he knew, something that he already recognized and believed. So he did not say, since I already know that, let's move on to something else. Rather, he said, bala, I know. Walakin liyatma'inna qalbi. But to give my heart an increase in tranquility. And so, even if it is something that we already know, and I remember as a student, Ikhwan, in the city of Medina, on many occasions, we studied numerous books several times with different shuyukh. And each time, Ikhwan, then that we understood or we took that issue, we learned a different benefit. We received a different fa'idah. We had a different issue rise. Or we had something that affirms that which we already understood, but that makes the affair clearer. And so the affair then is one that revolves around the importance of this affair of hirs and ardentness over knowing the truth. And the fifth issue that he mentions, rahimahullah ta'ala, shiddatu da'wat ila dhalik. Having staunch or being staunch upon calling to that. And that is when we recognize the haqq and we recognize the truth and how to attain it, how to acquire it. And the attitude that we should have, then we should be ardent with sharing that with the people, teaching it to the people, helping them upon that, helping our brother holding his hand upon this path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى يوفقنا وإياكم لما يحبه ويرضاه وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب